but the evil that men do lives on. We're gonna bang your head!
You are now listening to Music Mania, the #1 hard rock podcast in the Midwest, featuring hard-hitting interviews with rock's living legends. And now, here are your hosts, the Twins of Chaos, Clint Schweitzer and Paul Lagana.
And it is time to dance in the magic light of the desert moon here on the Music Mania podcast. Clint Schweitzer and Paul Lagana, as we get ready to welcome our guest this week. He is Mark Kendall, founding member of the band Great White, and they are getting ready to release their new album, Full Circle, here on June 2nd. We're going to take a trip down memory lane with Mark and talk about this new album, Paul.
Clint, rock me, baby.
Wow, well, I wasn't prepared for that, so I guess and that's one of my favorite Great White songs. Actually, my favorite Great White song has always been Desert Moon, and I'm a big fan of the band's early work, but of course they hit the mainstream with Once Bitten in 87, Twice Shy in 89, and Hooked in 91. But those are sort of the biggest years for the band. But they have history going back to the late 70s when Mark Kendall met Jack Russell for the first time, and
that's right.
they were a band called Dante Fox at one point before they became Great White in the early 80s. And so they've had quite a run, a lot of ups and downs, of course. So we've had Jack Russell on this show, who, of course, tours under the moniker of Jack Russell's Great White. But this is Mark Kendall, and founding guitar player. And Terry Illouz is the singer of Great White now, and he does a great job. He's from XYZ. And the new album, Full Circle, comes out here on June 2nd. Sounds really good. I really like what he's done. Michael Wagner is the producer on this thing, who's done work with them from way back 30 plus years ago.
That's
so
right.
Great to see Great White still out there. No pun intended.
Fascinating story, Clint. I mean, this band here, as you said, started out in the late 70s as Dante Fox, came up in the LA club scene, changed to Great White. I believe it was 84, I think it was. And as he'll talk about a little bit, they actually signed one of the first and only bands to get airplay without actually having a record deal.
That is true, and they were ringleaders of this Hollywood scene, because in the early 80s, when they finally changed the name to Great White, by the time they did that, the hair metal scene hadn't exploded yet. Yeah, you had Motley Crue doing their thing. Quiet Riot had been down there, but Great White, with their unique blend of blues guitar playing, Jack Russell's very smooth voice, and synonymous with the Great White sound coming up. Great White achieved a lot of success, but not until the late 80s, until 87, 89, with Once Bitten and Twice Shy. They were kind of had to toil around and really work in those clubs and slug it out in the Hollywood scene, and they were able to do that and achieve success. And to be still out there doing it today, all the props in the world to them. And Mark Kendall, one of my favorite guitarists, man, from that era, always been underrated.
No doubt.
His tone is unmistakable, and the work he was able to do on those Great White albums, then and now, very impressive.
Absolutely, and props to them for still being part of the music scene today, and still going going as strong as they possibly can, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, without further delay, we want to go ahead and welcome our guest at this time. It is Mark Kendall, and you got the new album. It's Full Circle. It comes out June 2nd. You guys working again with Michael Wagner. How cool has that been? Kind of an apt title for this album, coming full circle. 35 years ago, you worked with him, and now here this album is coming out here on June 2nd. I know you guys just got to be pumped about this one.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really fun working with Michael Wagner. Just being in a different environment, that we weren't used to, and it kept our energy at a high level, and we really enjoyed him. And he's such a high-end pro, and he's really fun to be around. He makes you comfortable, and I saw him on the cruise, and I was just happy to see him. I actually went to his question and answer show that he put on. I actually asked questions that I already knew the answers to, because I wanted the people to hear some of his stories. He used to get really creative in the studio, getting for sound effects. I mean, he was the type of person that didn't use sound effects records. He would make the sounds himself somehow. If you wanted a motorcycle, he'd put mics out in a parking lot or something and have the guy drive it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was all about him making the sound. So I just wanted some people to hear some of those stories. And when we met up and talked and stuff, it was basically just saying hello and whatever, and, you know, talked a little bit. And the second time I spoke with him, we said our goodbyes, and as I was walking away, he goes, "Hey, man, why don't we do something together again?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa, dude, that'd be awesome," you know? And so we just kept in touch, and before we knew it, we're in Nashville recording. So, you know, we're thrilled with the album and the production and everything.
Well, this is the follow-up to the album you came out with in 2012, which was Elation, another really good album, received very well by fans and critics. But just kind of talk about the process. You talk about kind of running into him on the Monsters of Rock cruise, and Michael Wagner, that is. Just talk about kind of the process of writing and recording this album, and, you know, kind of how similar it was or different it was from doing it, you know, kind of back in the day.
Well, on Elation, we really didn't have any material when we went in the studio except for 2 song ideas. So this time, we still weren't fully prepared. I mean, we had most of the music done, a lot of the arrangements, but we didn't have hardly any lyrics. So Michael Wagner's not used to working like that, so you know, he wasn't really loving it. But you know, the end result, he kind of breathed a sigh of relief, and he was happy. But normally his routine is he goes and down to a band's rehearsal for a week, you know, works on the songs, and then the band makes a demo, and he works on it for 2 months, and then they come in there with every note together. We are a little bit less prepared than that, and but like I said, it all worked out, and the way he records is different than what we're used to, but a much better way to record. And that is well, we always play together when we record, you know, to get the drums.
Sure.
But after he gets the drums and bass, then he likes to work on one song at a time, and I love that because it eliminates, you know, me or Michael or whoever, you know, having to play like 4 or 5 songs in one day. It eliminates the singer having to sing a bunch of songs in a day. If you just work on one song, nobody gets overloaded, you know. So I really like it in that way. And also, you don't lose your focus on any given song. If you're working on that one song, that you know, your vision is all in one place, and I love that too. And I obviously, from him doing this for so many years, he figured something out that works well.
Certainly so. And I tell you what, Mark, you guys are getting ready to also hit the road. I mean, starting, I believe, June 9th in Highland, California. You guys have got a lot of dates spread out here over the United States, here over the summer and on into September. I mean, I'm sure you guys are, you know, always pumped about getting out there, supporting an album. I think that a lot of bands go out there and play a lot of these festivals. You got the Rocklahomas, you got the M3s. A lot of bands play. It's wonderful times. But for you guys, being able to go out and promote a new album, that has to be extra special to get out and play some of these new songs in front of people that are coming out to see you guys.
Yeah, you know, that's really what keeps us motivated is you know, when we come out with new stuff, it keeps the band excitement, you know, at a higher level. And, you know, so yeah, you know, we have quite a few shows booked. They're coming in every day. I think we got about 40 shows. And we're going over to the UK, playing a festival over there and some other shows. So, yeah, we're excited to play this stuff live. We kind of wanted to wait until either a little bit before it came out or after it came out, and it turned out that it's going to be after because our next show is not till the 9th. So, yeah, you know, we're definitely pumped. Like I said, we're thrilled with the album, and, you know, it's always a little bit of tension to see how people are going to receive it, you know, but you know, and that it's been that way our whole career. It's like we might love it, but our other people, you know, you kind of got to pray that other people are going to feel the same. You know, I guess you never really know, but I think our fans have a similar taste than we do, and you know, we really like the songs a lot. So that's really what we go after. If you ever hear an argument in Great White, it's always to do with the song we're writing. You know what I mean? Because we all fight for the song to be the best it can be. So if there's ever a spat, it's usually over a part in a song, or one guy might not be thinking quite the way the other is. So but the song always ends up the best at the end of the day, and that's the main thing.
Absolutely, and musical spats are always a lot better than the other type of spats. But hey, Mark,
the drama factor, yeah, we're way past all that. Our egos, we check them at the door when we're writing an album and recording and stuff. We're always fighting for the song and to make it the best it can be. So all the little tiddly bits, that we don't put any energy into stuff like that.
Absolutely. So, Mark, take us back a little bit down, trip down memory lane, man, because I'm always fascinated. I'm a little bit older than Clint, but I'm always fascinated on how, you guys, bands in general, get started. I mean, I know you met Jack back in the late 70s. Just kind of talk a little bit about how you guys actually started out. I know it was called Dante Fox at one time, and just kind of go from there, man.
Yeah, back in that time, the whole music scene was pretty healthy locally, around the LA area. Like Van Halen was playing backyards, and there was just a lot of great bands. And Van Halen always stood out because they just worked more than everyone, and that really inspired me. And when I started playing in bands, we kind of made it into Hollywood, but I really wasn't thrilled with the singer. And I had heard about Jack, and we got together. And I just ditched my band, and we went and tried, to make our own band. And then he got in a little trouble, so that 2 years rolled by, and during that time I made a band called Dante Fox. Well, when Jack got out of his trouble, he came, auditioned for the band, we loved him, and just moved from there and just played all the shows we could, trying to put ourselves in a good position to get lucky and have the right guy be at the show. And that happened in, I think it was late 81. Alan Niven, who later on down the road became Guns N' Roses manager, but he worked at a record company. He handed us his card the next day. We went and met him at the record company. His partners ended up not wanting us, so he just kind of bailed on them, and because he believed in us, and it just kind of went on from there. Before we knew it, we were in the studio with Michael Wagner, called him out from Germany. He didn't know the language very well, so he kind of talked through Dawkins. And Don Dawkins, the one that told Niven about us. Niven goes, "Who's the best band in town?" He goes, "Go see this band, Dante Fox or whatever. I think you're going to like them." Niven had actually seen us 2 other times and told Don, "I'm not getting it." And he goes, "You're missing it, buddy. You got to go again." And the third time he saw us, we played No Doctor from Humble Pie on the encore. And that, believe it or not, that's what sold him. He goes, "Okay, I get it now. I can make this work,
Unbelievable.
But anyway, so it went on from that. We did the EP. It was actually a 5-song EP with Michael Wagner. And we got airplay on a song called On Your Knees on the biggest stations in Los Angeles. And that created a buzz within the major labels.
KMET,
I remember
man. I remember KMET and KLOS real well. I'm from there.
Yeah, and they started playing this, and we really didn't have a proper record deal. We had, it was our own label, and we only had a distribution deal with Green World. So all of a sudden, we're on 2 of the biggest stations in Los Angeles in heavy rotation with no record deal. So it's really crazy how all this went down. But 9 labels bidded on the band, and we had to go see all these labels. And we signed with EMI, did Judas Priest tour, did Whitesnake tour, came home, and we really didn't sell enough records to make them happy, and they were just going to shelve our second record. So, we just parted ways, basically got dropped in a sense, and here we are again. So we made another demo record called Shot in the Dark. On that album, we had a song called Face the Day, that was actually a cover song, and we kind of did it our own way. And that got airplay in L.A. It was the number 5 song for the year on KLOS. Right. It got airplay in Texas and Arizona. And again, you know, Niven talked an A&R guy from Capitol, who was the father company of EMI America. And we got signed again, man. You know, it's just like mind-blowing. But that's when we came with a real strong record, basically a do-or-die record. And we came with Rock Me and Lady Red Light and all that. And that kind of made our mark, you know, and we got tons of airplay. But part of the problem that got me worried was Rock Me was such a long song, and we haven't really proven ourselves with any kind of hits. So to come out with a 7+ minute song, I thought was crazy. But what Niven did is he, you know, sent the song to all the radio stations, or he didn't, but the record company did. And Niven had the idea just to say it's 3:59. So he wrote 3 minutes and 59 seconds, and by the time people figured it out, it was a hit. It was the lights were, you know, flashing on the phone. So, you know, it was too late to shoot it down, and MTV absolutely would not go for it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even accept a 7-minute song from Madonna at that time, so we had no chance for a 7-minute song on. And we tried every way you could to edit that song down, and nothing sounded natural. So we decided to re-record the song as a 5-minute version of it. So we recorded Rock Me, a 5-minute version of Rock Me, and nobody ever noticed it, you know. So we did it good enough to where, you know, we cut out a few parts. We made, I think, the second verse a half verse, but we didn't lose the solo, so I was happy about that. Usually when you cut a song, there goes the solo.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it became a big song on MTV, and so there was a lot of grinding. People might think it's overnight, but you know, we played clubs for years, you know, and just kind of didn't give up, and finally, for playing so often and mostly free, trust me, we played a lot of free shows. I mean, the first time we played the Troubadour, we packed the place and made $6 total. I was going, oh, so this is rock and roll, huh? You know?
Yeah.
But it's just funny. So we played free, so we give ourselves a better chance to get lucky and get discovered. And it, you know, finally the right guy was in the crowd. You know, and, I mean, stuff like this doesn't have to happen. You know, so our stars did line up, and I'm grateful for that. But we did work for it.
Of course.
I can tell you that much. We worked for it.
And this is a band that has so much talent in it. You guys were so different. You talk about being kind of an LA band coming up in the early 80s, really before the hair metal scene really took over the Sunset Strip. But you guys were different. You sounded different. Now, of course, these days, a lot of people will lump Great White in with every band that came from that era, of course. I mean, it makes sense. But you guys were really kind of the ringleaders of this. You talked about Van Halen playing the Pasadena house parties. I mean, you guys were playing clubs on the Sunset Strip really before it became popular to do that, and then so many other bands came after you guys. I mean, that's kind of a crazy thing that a lot of people don't realize about Great White, is you guys were really the ringleaders of that whole scene.
Yeah, well, one thing we didn't lead anything, but because we ran into the right people who were great business people, we were able to, in fact, I'm almost positive we're the first non-signed band to get heavy rotation on the biggest stations in LA. That's for sure. But yeah, you know, the whole hairband metal thing, I think it's kind of an easy escape for a journalist to just call the whole 80s hair metal, which is fine. But I attribute us being called the hair metal band because we look like all of them.
Right.
We're all using the same hairspray. The same guy was making clothes for Judas Priest, Motley Crue, and Great White, and Rat, you know.
Right.
So, you know, so as far as the fashion goes, you know, I mean, you know, it's like bell bottoms in the 70s and beads were popular too, you know.
No doubt.
But it really didn't dictate what kind of music we played. That's where people get confused. You know, they're going, I hear the blues in there. That's not really, you know, that doesn't sound like Poison, you know, or you know. So the reason we sound the way we do is we all have different influences. I'm influenced by all the blues guys, you know, Michael Lardy likes like Billy Joel and Elton John. My drummer's into death metal. You know, Jack is like pure Led Zeppelin boy. You know, so when we all played together, it made a certain sound, and that's where the music stems from. Not because, you know, I told one journalist my hair has never written a song. You know, so it's our look or whatever. Just like any band, it really doesn't have anything to do with your hair or your look. But I know what they mean. They're saying, you know, the kind of the very predictable song where you know what the chorus is almost going to say before it happens. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
So I totally get that. But I think our music is a little deeper, but you know, without the risk of sounding braggy. But it's because of our influences, you know.
Right. I always thought.
Play with
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I always thought you guys sounded a lot more unique than those '80s hair bands coming up, man. I mean, you know, like you said, with the blues influence and that type of thing. So you're absolutely right. Even though you came up in the '80s, and maybe, you know, a journalist will lump you guys together. I always thought that you guys,
Sure.
you know, that it was an absolute unique sound.
Yeah.
Even Eddie Trunk had said that. He was in our documentary. He said the thing that separated us was that blues quality. You know,
Sure.
That kind of had a different look. You know, if you will, than some of the other bands. But like I said, it doesn't mean we're better or whatever. It's just, you know, that it's our influences. I mean, I grew up. When I was 14 years old, it was like I thought Carlos Santana was the only guitar player in the world. I mean, I was, you know,
Yeah.
I was in a band that only played Santana. I insisted on it because he was the greatest. But then I moved up to, you know, Johnny Winter, Billy Gibbons, you know, Richie Blackmore. I mean, but almost every guitar player that I ever fell in love with, all were really soulful. I mean, they squeezed notes like nobody else, and played from the heart and soul or whatever. So that's what made me love the guitar is those guys, you know.
Well, Mark, I want to ask you about your current vocalist, Terry Illouz, and he's someone that I knew very well from XYZ. He filled in on some select dates back in 2009, filling the seat of a guy like Jack Russell that had such a you know, magnetic voice, a voice that's very synonymous with those great white songs. To talk about him and kind of what he brings to the band, man, because I think he knocks these songs out of the park. And the new ones, I just heard the album this week, the new album, Full Circle. He sounds so good. I'm a huge fan of his. I loved XYZ, and I love him in this band, Mark.
Yeah. Well, his voice, you know, with XYZ, I wasn't really that familiar with XYZ except for Inside Out.
Yeah.
I remember that song. I heard it on the radio and loved it. You know, it's a really good song. Well, listening to a lot more material from them, occasionally his voice and the songs were a little bit oil and water. And I feel the reason for that is because he is truly a blues singer to the core. I mean, he's a blues rock singer. He's like Ian Gillan meets Paul Rogers meets, you know, Glenn Hughes or something, you know, and a little bit of Steve Marriott, you know. So when he was filling in, I kind of fell in love with that right away because that's kind of the school I come from. And so I know his strengths, and that is, you know, in the power region of his voice. But what he brings is, for one thing, really positive energy. He's always upbeat. He's a great songwriter. So we listen to all his ideas with open ears. You know, he plays guitar pretty decent. He has great sense of melody. I can literally hand him music and he can come back with a song. You know, we might change a thing here and there, but he really he's a great pocket singer. And I don't just mean he sings with the drummer great. Yes, he does. But where he places his vocal is sometimes I go, God, I would have never done that. That is so cool, you know. So he has a little bit of that Al Green vibe where, you know, and he told me he listened to a lot of R&B singers growing up. he listened to Al Green and all those R&B singers,
Yeah.
So he brings a lot, and we didn't really want a clone. We wanted the Mach 2, kind of like the way Deep Purple brought in Coverdale and Glenn Hughes, and they made one of the best albums of the career, apart from that first Machine Head record. I mean, nothing's going to beat that, but I really felt Burn was a super strong record, and the songs were just amazing. So the more we play with Terry, the more we write, it just keeps getting better, and I'm looking forward to doing the next one. I think we can keep beating the last one, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's absolutely, and it's always Great White's always been a band, always moving forward, and you guys are always, a very fan-friendly band. It's just, I really am so glad you guys are out here doing this. Cannot wish you enough luck on this new album, Full Circle, which, guys, comes out June the 2nd. And I'll tell you what, you can go to officialgreatwhite.com and get all the details on that. Pre-order the thing, probably on Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, maybe even a physical CD in there. I don't know if they still make those.
And also when you order off of the, I think we're in 35 stores. So so you can get it anywhere as far as downloads. I mean, there's nowhere you can't get it. And you can actually pre-order it on the 21st of May. But if you get the hard copy, the CD, off our website, officialgreatwhite.com, it's accompanied with a making of video. We literally hired a company called Rockslide Media into the studio. So they had cameras rolling like the whole time, so you can actually watch the songs develop and watch us, how we make records, And I just thought that'd be fun for the fans to come behind the scenes and actually, watch the band record, watch us argue, watch, whatever. There's not a lot of arguments. I just kind of joke.
Yeah. Well, you can manufacture some. You can make them up if they don't happen naturally. It's just like reality TV. I mean, you can see what you want to see.
It's great to bring. Yeah, we've never done it before. Actually, brought the fans in the studio so they can see how we record and stuff, and they interview Wagner and all of us, and plus you can actually watch the songs grow, see where we're at, and then you listen to the CD and you're going, okay, and now I see how they write and how they record and whatever. I just thought it'd be something a little extra for the fans to, because our meet and greets are so structured. That's why I love those Monsters of Rock cruises, when you can go out and just meet 4,000 people out on the deck or whatever. It's so fun to hear their stories and everything, and it's not really our fault. We have always treated our fans, with the ultimate respect.
Sure.
And we're so happy and grateful for them on these cruises. It's just a joy to meet everybody and not be so structured. In the meet and greet, you meet 20 people and they go flying through the line. So this is just a way to give back a little to them and bring them, it's beyond backstage. You're watching us record. So if you do get the hard copy, it'll come with that.
Yes, that is awesome. I want everyone to go to officialgreatwhite.com. You can get all the information on that. I tell you what, Mark Kendall, one of my favorite guitar players of all time. Thank you so much for joining us. We got to get you guys here to the Midwest. Here we're in Kansas City, Missouri. We've seen you guys here before. It's been since, I believe, 2009 since you've been here with Great White. So we got to get you here, man.
I'm going to have to get on my agent's case and get out there.
Hey, we love it.
Clint and Paul. Thank you, Clint and Paul, and it was great talking with you guys, man.
Mark,
thanks for supporting the rock, buddy.
You bet. Rock on. Best of luck with this new album. We'll catch you somewhere out there in the stratosphere on this tour. Somewhere, if you don't get to Kansas City, we'll come find you, my man. Good luck.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
See you, Mark. That was Mark Kendall of the band Great White. Clint, the guy was absolutely unbelievable in his storytelling of not only what he's doing now, but back in the days, man.
Well, it took us down a trip down memory lane, Paul, back to your time, back to the growing up in the 70s and early 80s in Los Angeles, a time that you had to have been there and seen to believe, I believe.
Again, I can't stress enough what that scene was like back in the days, man. I mean, I was just getting out of high school. The parties, the bands,
the music,
and the music still lives today. I mean, and Mark is a perfect example of that, man.
Well, Paul, we're getting ready to embark on our second straight trip to cover the Rocklahoma Festival, which is 3 days coming up here in Pryor, Oklahoma, where Great White was actually played last year. This year, we're going to see bands, like Def Leppard, Slaughter, Fozzy, 3 Days Grace, Soundgarden. Of course, we got Rat, a reunited Rat, Jackal coming up. What a whirlwind it's going to be for us as we get set to head out on this journey. You and I, once again, doing it, Music Mania Podcast, bringing it to the fans just like we always said we would, and that's what we do here. We relate to these fans, the few we have.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for, man. I mean, this is why we do this, because these bands, I mean, both today, what they're doing today and back then, this Rocklahoma is a perfect example of both new and old, man. So,
yeah, it is.
So let's get it started,
mix.
brother.
10 years ago, Paul, as a fan of these bands, as a fan of 80s rock, I'm using that term very loosely, but that's what this festival started as, a celebration of kind of that 80s genre. And I went there and I paid my money and I slept in a tent for 3 days and I watched bands like Poison, I watched bands like White Lion and Quiet Riot and Dokken and Winger and Slaughter, and I slept in the rain. It was blazingly hot, and I did that in my early 20s. Now, my early 30s, 10 years later, it was 10 years ago that this all happened. Now, 10 years later, to sit in the cushy media tent, to talk to these bands, to bring the story to the fans, it's an all-encompassing situation for me personally, because I sat out there as a fan. I am a fan. I will always be a fan. And now just to be able to have this voice, to sort of connect people with this genre, there's nothing bigger or better for me, and to have you alongside me, my partner in crime.
That's right. You and Eddie Trunk, by the way. Eddie Trunk has been there for the entire 10 years as well, so I'm sure he's got some stories.
He never slept in a tent, though, I'm going to guess.
No, probably not. He might have slept in the mud last year. I mean, from what
there was there was some weather last year. Hope we don't run into that again.
Anyway, everybody needs to get out. If you can't get to Rocklahoma, man, go see a show somewhere, brother, because this is where it's at. Absolutely.
This is the Music Mania Podcast. Hit that subscribe button on iTunes or YouTube. Thanks so much for checking us out. Send us your tweets at musicmania_show. Find us on Facebook. We're pretty much everywhere. Hit us up and enjoy. The Memorial Day weekend is going to be lovely. Get out there and rock about with your cock about.